Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, all of you. Hello.
Dear friends, participants, and our esteemed resource speaker, Professor M. Prasad Rao sir. A very good afternoon. On behalf of the principal, Dr. Sister Shaiji, and the management of St. Joseph's College for Women Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, a 62-year-old college and the first women's college in North Coastal Andhra Pradesh. I, Ms. Ramni Dhanraj, head of the Department of Office Management and a member of the IQAC, welcome you to this one-day national webinar by the Department of Economics on the impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. The weather is beautiful today again in Visakhapatnam. It's been raining since the morning, and we do hope rains do not play spoil sport and give us splendid signals. This is the 11th webinar of the college in the Corona pandemic session, and there are many more to come in this week after. India is peaking in Corona cases, and unless we seek the blessings of the Almighty, it may be difficult to handle this crisis. Let us start the webinar with the prayer song.
Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let your love increase. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Walls of pride and prejudice shall cease. Your instruments of peace.
It's true that peace and harmony within ourselves and with everyone around is the need of the hour, and this song rightly reflects it. Recently, an industry survey jointly conducted by FICCI and tax consultancy Dhruv Advisors took responses from about 380 companies across the sectors, and they said businesses are grappling with tremendous uncertainty. Today, in our webinar organized by the Department of Economics, we have two eminent speakers. One is our own Professor Prasad Rao sir, who is a great authority on economics across the globe and who's been steering so many administrative bodies. And you can see, friends, he is very, very ready to deliver. And the second session, of course, we have another erudite resource speaker, Professor Devasena Naidu from Tirupati. I now will hand you over to Mrs. C. Jnana Prasuna, the in-charge head of the Department of Economics, St. Joseph's College, who will spell out the rationale and the need for this webinar. Over to Mrs. C. Jnana Prasuna.
Thank you, madam. Good morning to all of you. As a coordinator of this one-day webinar, I, Mrs. C. Jnana Prasuna, in charge of the Department of Economics, feel privileged to spell out the rationale for the webinar. Ever since the corona pandemic disrupted the whole globe, the economies of countries have taken a hard beating. Nearly 162 countries went for lockdown, and business across the globe is operating in the fear of an impending collapse of global financial markets. The coronavirus in India has been largely disruptive. This situation, clubbed with sluggish economic growth in the previous year, especially in our country, is leading to extremely volatile market conditions. India's growth rate in the first quarter of the fiscal year 2020 went down to 3.1% according to the Ministry of Statistics. World Bank sharply scaled down its projections, forecasting 3.2% contraction in the fiscal year 2020-21 of our country because of all these lockdowns. Market instability is leading to increased unemployment, stress on supply chains, decrease in government income due to collapse of the tourism industry, hospitality industry, reduced consumer activity, plunge in fuel consumption, rise in LPG sales. Within a month, unemployment rose from 6.7% on 15th March to 26% on 19th April. During the lockdown period, 14 crores people lost their employment. It is expected to lose over rupees 32,000 crores every day, and up to 53% of business in our country was projected to be significantly affected. A large number of farmers around the country who grow perishables also face uncertainty. Young startups have been affected due to lack of funding. Stock markets posted their worst losses. In this situation, Government of India announced a variety of measures to tackle like food security, incentives for the growth of MSMEs, and tax deadline extensions, etc. In this context, we in St. Joseph's College decided to organize this one-day webinar with very experienced resource speakers to deliberate on this topic, that is impact of COVID-19 on the Indian economy. The first session will be handled by Professor M. Prasad Rao sir, head of the Department of Economics, Andhra University. I invite Dr. R. Santakumari, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, St. Joseph's College for Women, to introduce Professor Prasad Rao. Over to Dr. Santakumari.
So 1 second, sir. Dr. Shantakumari will introduce you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hi, I, Dr. R. Santhakumari, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics in St. Joseph College for Women, considered it my privilege to introduce one of the most illustrious professors in economics across the globe from Andhra University School of Economics, having completed his PhD from the University of Sussex as a Commonwealth Academic Staff Scholar under outstanding scholars like Professor Lefton, Dr. Hunt, and Dr. Chowdhury. Prasad Rao sir is a development economics with 36 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration. An ardent researcher and writer, Sir has published 10 popular books and 50 papers in national and international journals. With a degree in law, Prasad Rao sir takes session not just in core economics, areas, but also on law and economics. He was honored with many awards like the AP State Best Teacher Award in 2014, Best Researcher Award by AU in 2006, Man of the Decade Award 2019 by Alliance Clubs International, to name a few. He guided 14 candidates for PhD degrees by Andhra University and 3 candidates, including one PDF scholar. He has extended his research activities as a PhD D.Lit thesis adjudicator for different states and central universities in India. As a head, Department of Economics, and honorary director, Prasad Rao sir hold many key administrative leadership positions like Honorary Director, UGC Center for SARC Studies, Andhra University, Rector, Andhra University, 2018 to 2019, Honorary Director, Population Research Center, PRC, Andhra University for 7 years, 2005 to 2012. Head of PRC, he conducted a number of field-based studies in population, health and family welfare, Honorary Director, AP Studies Circle, Vishakhapatnam, member of the Academic Senate, AU, and member of Executive Council and Finance Committee of AU from 2016 2019, to name a few. I request you, sir, to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santakumari. PowerPoint.
Sir, it's okay, sir. You can continue, sir.
Right. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
PowerPoint, I'm able to
You can
see
share the screen, sir. So downside option is this.
downside up. Just a minute. 1 second. We're locating file.
Sir is connecting the share screen, so let us wait.
Just
Advanced
1
technology
second. 1
takes
second.
time. Yes, no problem. Take your time. Not
Right.
to worry.
Right. Right?
It's okay, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
okay,
Yes,
sir?
sir. Perfect, sir. Please continue, sir.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Distinguished dignitaries, organizers of the webinar, Dr. Sister Shaiji PD, Principal, St. Joseph's College for Women, Sister Hema, Vice Principal, St. Joseph College for Women, Sister Casey Mary, Secretary, St. Joseph College for Women, Professor P. Sarada, Coordinator, IQSC, St. Joseph College for Women, Miss D.A. Ramani, Member, IQSC and Head, Department Office Management, St. Joseph College for Women, Mr. V. Nagasrinivas, Computer Science, Dr. V. Gauri Sankar Rao, Department of Mathematics, coordinators, Srimati Gnana Prasunna, Department of Economics, moderators, Mr. K.N. Murthy, Department of Economics, and Dr. R. Santa Kumari, Department of Economics. Respected Professor P. Devasena Naidu, Department of Economics, SV University Tirupati, other dignitaries, scholars, students, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. It is a moment of great privilege and honor for me to participate in this prestigious national webinar on impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. I'm grateful to the St. Joseph College for Women Autonomous, Department of Economics, Internal Quality Assurance Cell for inviting me to speak at this national webinar. The subject chosen, particularly impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy for the webinar is timely and very good, very important one. And the title of my presentation, The Impact COVID-19 Crisis on Indian Poor, with emphasis on migrant laborers. I would start my presentation with this backdrop, that is the present economic scenario in India at a glance and the COVID-19 crisis on Indian poor. As you know, the pandemic caused by COVID-19 has created a shock and awe among us all, putting 2/3 of the global population under lockdown. It is an unprecedented shock to the Indian economy. The economy was already in a dangerous state before COVID-19 struck. With the prolonged countrywide lockdown, global economic downturn, and associated disruption of demand and supply chains, the economy is likely to face a protracted period of slowdown. Developing countries like India has more fragile economic and social fabric. And what I want to say, the present situation will create more suffering for the unorganized sectors and migrant labor. Coming to our economy, as I mentioned to you, the Indian economy was in its worst phase before coronavirus outbreak, with growth in the gross domestic product falling to a 11-year low of 4.2% in 1920. The economy grew by 3.1% in the January-March quarter of 2019 and 20, against 5.7% at the same time a year ago. This is the slowest growth in its 8 years. According to national statistical data, the manufacturing sector has grown merely by 0.03% in financial year 1920, compared to 5.7% in the previous year. Growth of construction sector, which is responsible for a spillover effect on several other industries, too declined to 1.3%. Unlike the 2008 global financial crisis, the pandemic has resulted in enormous human suffering, not seen in decades, and has also slammed the brakes on economic activity and jeopardized financial stability. We're all afraid that the coronavirus pandemic has claimed 420,000 in the world and nearing 8,000 lives so far in India, and infected around 70 4 lakh in the world and nearing 3 lakh people in the country. This shows how it is spreading quickly. Here, I just mentioned a couple of things that the global impact. As mentioned, estimated by Asian Development Bank, the global economy would suffer between US dollars 5.8 trillion and US dollars 8.8 trillion in losses, equivalent to 6.4% to 9.7% in the global GDP as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Economic losses in Asia and Pacific region could range from 1.7 trillion under a short containment scenario of 3 months to dollars 2.5 trillion under a long containment scenario of 6 months, with the region accounting for about 30% of overall decline in global output. In South Asian across, because I'm heading as the Center for SAC Studies, South Asian region domestic product is estimated to be to the tune of 142 to 218 billion dollars. The GDP in South Asia will also be lower by 3.9 to 6%, mainly reflecting the tight restrictions in place of countries like Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. The whole world is shook by COVID-19 is unprecedented in that it is supply, demand, and market shock. The global economy was undergoing turbulence in 2019, and now in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, the risk of global recession in 2020 is high as nations shut down economic activity to the limit the spread of infection. I just want to show about the flattering facts about the impact. If you look at the real GDP growth, annual percentage for top 10 countries in the world for the year 18, 19, 20, and except India and China. China, it's a 2020, 1.2% growth rate, and India, 1.9%. And the remaining USA, China, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, Brazil, Canada, all the countries having negative growth rate. And coming to the, in this figure, I tried to explain for the top 9 countries, for all of them with higher percentage of negative growth rates, except India. For China, highest negative growth rate with around 10%. It said in 2020, Q1, that is April, June, between April, June, and the GDP growth in selected countries in percent. Look at China is negative growth rate 10%. France, Spain, Italy, Germany, South Korea, United States, Japan, all of them in that Q1 between April and June 30th, they have negative growth rate, except India is having just 0.7%, very minute growth rate. And coming to the state of the Indian economy, if you look at these figures, the growth rate at 3.1% in Q4 drags full year, financial year 20 growth to 4.2%, lowest in the current series. It is the lowest since the Q4 of financial year 2008. Look at from all the years, the growth rate is a Q4 financial year 20. It is a 3.1. And coming to the Yearly data, India's GDP growth falls 4.2% in financial year 20. Annual GDP growth falls to the lowest since 2000 and 2001 in percentages. Look at the 1920. In this year, the growth rate is 4.2. So how you can see the trend. And coming to the India's GDP in the industries trends, year over change and sector wise, agriculture in the quarter four, that is January, March, is a 20. Agriculture is having 5.9%. That is having positive growth rate. Manufacturing, negative growth rate, minus 1.4. Construction, negative growth rate, minus 2.2. Trade hotels is a positive growth, 2.6. And real estate, finance and real estate, 2.4% positive growth. And if you look at the financial year 19 and 20, you can see the figures. And all the agriculture sector, manufacturing sector, it is there is a lot of changes falling down. Now I want to say something about COVID-19 effect on different sectors. Say, in India, particularly, fallout mostly encountered from the industry, manufacturing, construction, and real estate sectors. And the impact may be long-lasting contagion effect due to interstate and intersectoral linkages. Restriction on transportation and labor mobility mostly halter the economic activity initially and demand in the economy in the latter period. The economic crisis, so far now, predicted as supply shock to the economy. In long run, supply shock also has the potential to create the demand shock. No doubt, the world is going to face recession and the global losses may exceed World Wars I and II combined. The coronavirus outbreak has caused losses to the tune of 30.3 lakh crore to the national economy, which is 50% more than the COVID-19 relief package very recently in the March 12th, Prime Minister announced worth of 20 lakh crore announced by the central government. State-wise analysis indicates that the top 10 states accounted for 75% of total GDP loss, with Maharashtra contributing highest 15.6% to total loss, followed by Tamil Nadu 9.4% and Gujarat 8.6%. These three states also have the largest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in India. The supply chain across the world is affected, but efforts are on to make essentials available across the world. Still, it is expected that India will be able to contain the disease to a large extent and revive the economy. A lot of economic help is expected to reach poor, which will help to keep social distancing so as to prevent spikes in cases. It will take time for the infectious disease to flatten, and so economic, social, and systematic approaches are required for the country to eradicate this and to review the economy. Casual laborers, majority of the self-employed, and a part of regular wage salary workers in the organized sector, whose work is contractual in nature, constitute the base of informal workforce in India. The countrywide lockdown has brought nearly all economic activities to an abrupt halt. The disruption of demand and supply forces are likely to continue even after lockdown is lifted. It will take time for the economy to return to a normal state, and even the social distancing measures will continue for as long as the health shock plays out. With regard to the poor, so this is the core thing I just want to present after some of the facts presented in the Indian economy. As we are all aware that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji announced a nationwide lockdown on 24th March, limiting the movement of the entire 1.3 billion population of India as a preventive measure against the COVID-19 pandemic in India. The immediate response to the national lockdown was millions of migrant workers attempted to flight from Indian cities back to their rural residences. As you know, the migrant workers who survive on daily wages and work on India's large informal sector. The shutdown of economic activity meant that they had no means of livelihood in their places of work. Particularly, the lockdown, along with the global economic contraction associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, affected the poor and the vulnerable both in the rural urban sector. In the rural sector, falling crop prices for winter sown crops is likely to have a large negative effect and the large workforce employed in the agriculture sector. At the same time, in the urban sector, the freezing of day-to-day economic activity is likely to lead to large income losses for casual workers and the self-employed in the informal sector. As we understand, CMIE estimated 12.2 crore Indians lost their jobs during the coronavirus lockdown in April. Around 75% of them were small traders and daily wage laborers, and 120 million who have lost their jobs, 91.3 million were small traders and laborers. 18 million business persons and estimate to have lost employment in April 2020. But a fairly significant number of salaried workers, 17.8 million, and self-employed people, 18.2 million, have also lost work. Unemployment hit 23.5% in April, a sharp spike from 8.7% in March. This is attributed to the lockdown, which brought most economic activity. Economic activity is nothing but the combined factors of production, land, labor, capital, organization, except essential services such as hospitals, pharmacies, and food supplies to a standstill. Daily wage workers and those employed by small businesses have taken the worst hit. These include hackers, roadside vendors, workers employed in the construction industry, and many who eke out a living by pushing hand carts and rickshaws. United Nations University recent study estimating 104 million Indians could fall below the poverty line of $3.2 a day for a lower middle income country. In this background, I just moved to the implications of the COVID-19 lockdown with regard to migrant workers. As you know, India's workforce, our active working population, is estimated at 46.5 crore workers, out of which around 91%, there are 422 million, were informal workers in 2017 or 18 data. So that is without any social benefits. As you know, the population of 100 million internal migrant workers, who are estimated to form 20% of India's workforce, have been the worst sufferers in the lockdown that started on March 25th. They have been stranded in the cities and other locations to work without wages, money, and food. Hundreds of thousands of migrant workers who lost their livelihoods overnight and became homeless and paupers. The immediate challenges faced by these migrant workers were related to food, shelter, loss of wages, fear of getting infected, and anxiety. As a result, thousands of them stranded, sorry, thousands of them started fleeing from various cities to their native places. Many migrants lost their lives either due to hardship on the way, hunger, accident, or comorbidity, and some even committed suicide. Sudden lockdown also stranded many migrants in different cities of the country. Those who were traveling were stuck at the stations or state or district borders. Many were forced to walk hundreds of miles on foot to reach their home villages, finding no public transport. Those who reached their native villages were seen as potential carriers of the infection and were ill treated by the police and locals. Children, those lost, those left behind, whose, those who migrate with their parents, and those engaged in employment that are likely to be most affected by the ongoing crisis. Approximately 10% of rural households in India receive remittances. In several parts of the country, remittances are primary source of income for the sustenance of families. Unfortunately, these remittances are falling. And at the same time, as a result of it, the reduction or elimination of parents' wages will have immediate effects on food intake and health outcomes of children. A large majority of the migrant families hail from arid regions of the country where agriculture is unviable, especially in summer. Under such circumstances, nutritional insecurity is likely to be the immediate risk in the villages by migrants and their families. Nutritional insecurity is known to cause negative health impacts on the short as well as long run. Along the various categories of migrant laborers in India, one category is one of the seasonal workers employed in agriculture and related activities. The agricultural laborers who take upon rural to rural, inter-district, and interstate seasonal migration predominantly belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe categories, making them one of the most deprived strata of the rural hierarchy. With their mobility restricted, these migrants faces one of the greatest burnt of the pandemic lockdown. The effect of the crisis is not so much in the form of migrants coming home, because international remittances risk falling by 20% in 2020, the sharpest decline in recent history. Uh, as you know, farmers are the worst hit of this global pandemic. In this regard, keeping supply chain function well is crucial for food security. That is very weak at the moment. There is a need to strengthen this supply chain. Farmers must have continued access to markets. That is one way to uh, strengthen the supply chain. Small poultry and dairy farmers need more targeted help as their pandemic-related input supply and market access problems are urgent. Farmers and agricultural laborers should be included in government's assistance package, and any social protection programs addressing the crisis. To sustain the demand for agricultural commodities, investments in key logistics must be enhanced. Moreover, e-commerce and delivery companies and startups need to be encouraged with suitable policies and incentives. People living in agriculture and allied activities, mostly those living, mostly those losing their income, particularly I emphasize on so from informal employment at this lockdown period have to be provided with alternative uh, avenues. I emphasize on cash transfers till the economy bounces back. When this health crisis is successfully overcome, the small and medium enterprises running with raw materials from the agriculture and allied sector otherwise also need special attention so that the rural economy does not collapse. And with regard to small and marginal farmers, a few more facts. COVID-19 is disrupting some activities in agriculture and supply chains. The non-availability of migrant labor is interrupting some harvesting activities, particularly in northwest India, where wheat and pulses are being harvested. There are disruptions in supply chains because transportation problems and other issues. The closure of hotels, restaurants, sweet shops, and tea shops during the lockdown is already depressing milk sales. Commercial crops are drastically hit as they tend to be more dependent on migrant labor. Consequently, the shortage of migrant labor has resulted in a sharp increase in daily wages for harvesting crops. Poultry farmers have been badly hit due to misinformation, particularly on social media, that chicken are the carriers of COVID-19. The, the sale of dairy products, fish, poultry, etc., has also been hit during the lockdown period. Regarding the tiny businesses, these also belong to the poor, poorer sections of the society. India's small retailers run 12 million shops, employ 40 million people, and are responsible for an annual business of 700 billion rupees. Small businesses have been showing down and temporarily closing. Without earning cash, many small businesses, street restaurants, and shops are cutting down their staff or shut down for good. 90% of the street vendors have not been able to carry out their sole means of earning. And with regard to the street vendors, this category is also belong to the poorest of the society. And street vendors have been very severely hit across the states. Marketing markets being shut down means no income, and so that they have taken to becoming mobile vendors. Apart from vegetable vendors, hawkers selling flowers, food, and garments on the streets are the worst affected. There are over 400 million street vendors in India, and out of that number, 70% are food vendors, and the remaining ones are the street vendors earning between rupees 300 to 700 per day. Their lives have fallen apart and they do not have any sources. Locking, looking, um, locking regular salaries for our incomes, these agriculture, migrant, and other informal work would be hardest hit during the lockdown. Further, with the cash flows drying up with the poor people, Hundreds of street vendors have already used working capital for their day-to-day expenses and are now left with no money in hand. All street vendors should be given a one-time grant to help resume business and to allow them to manage food expenses. Government should help street vendors and farmers coordinate so that items to sell and farmers also do not face a crisis. Involve street vendors in community kitchens and could be set up to feed migrant workers on a regular basis. And as you know, with this backdrop, the government was forced to take certain measures. The Prime Minister has announced a 20 lakh crore package, economic package, which is equal to nearly 10% of India's package. You know, all the governments affected by COVID-19, including top industrial nations, announced their packages, including India, equivalent to 10 GDP percent, and 12th on May to provide relief to the people and help the country to fight the followed the coronavirus to combat the economic slowdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And government announced certain measures and government support to protect the poor and the vulnerable is essential. Under these circumstances, something has to be done to these migrants and other poor immediately. In this background, the situation demanded. The government announced a nearly 20 lakh economic package to support, out of which 3.10 lakh crore allocated for poor, migrants, farmers, tiny businesses, and street vendors. Government support to poor, migrants, farmers, tiny business, and street vendors very much required at this moment. And I just mentioned quickly financial allocations for 9 measures. Among 9 measures, 3 are related to migrant workers, one for street vendors, one for small traders, one for self-employed people, 2 on small farmers, and 1 in housing. And important one is free food grain supply to migrants for 2 months, so equivalent to 3,500 crores of rupees. Another measure, technology system to be used, enabling migrants to access PDS ration from any fair shop in India by March 2021, one nation, one ration card. Scheme for affordable rational housing complexes for migrant workers and urban poor to be launched. 2% interest subvention for 12 months for Shishu Mudra loanies, relief rupees 1,500 crores of rupees. 5,000 crores special credit facility for street vendors. 70,000 crores boost to housing sector and middle income group through extension of credit linked supply scheme for MIG under PMAY urban. Another scheme is a measure 6,000 crores for creating employment using Campa funds. Another measure 30,000 crore additional emergency working capital for farmers through NABARD. And 2 lakh crore essential credit boost to 2.5 crore farmers under Kisan Credit Card Scheme. Total put together 3 lakh 10,000 crores. There is a criticism how far these measures is reaching to the poor people in the pandemic crisis of COVID-19. Experts are saying only out of 20 lakh crores, only 2 lakh crores going to create demand in the economy. The rest are the only going to in the name of schemes. So, my conclusion, taking into the stock of the present situation, um, I conclude my presentation. The biggest challenge is that how to maintain the social distance for the poor people to check the spread of infection. As you know, several bold reforms are needed to make the country self-reliant because it's a very poor country. It's only less than 3 trillion economy and needed to make the country self-reliant, self-sufficient, and our Atmanirbhar, as the Prime Minister says, so that the impact of crisis such COVID can be negated in future. And some of these reforms include the countries have to invest in more in healthcare, both management and facilities. Now, social and behavioral norms, social distancing, wearing masks, maintaining hygiene, etc., are the new normal, and we have to adjust with such new norms amid the pandemic. And another important aspect we are supposed to think a comprehensive strategy addressing the impact of the current crisis may put the Indian economy back on a sustained growth and strengthen the country's trade and foreign policy. The need of the hour is to carefully check out the plans for the future resurgence of economic activity in the nation to create demand for the goods and services in the country. These reforms are expected to promote business, attract investment, and further strengthen Make in India. And also for India to be truly self-reliant and self-confident, public investment in education, human capability, and research development has to increase. Steps must be taken such that the benefits of social safety nets, like public distribution system, PDS, Ujjwala scheme, etc., become available to them even in the urban and semi-urban areas. At present, another important aspect we are supposed to think in this crisis, the Prime Minister's Kisan includes only landowners, tenant farmers who are the actual cultivators should be included in the scheme. The important question is where this public expenditure is to be made. At present, public spending on health sector has been less than 1.5% of our GDP. It should be raised to 3% of, of the GDP. At present, additional 1.5% expenditure must be made to strengthen the public health system to meet continued challenge of COVID-19 and also possible such challenges arising in the future. Hence, an income transfer under existing schemes and new schemes may be announced to mitigate the loss to casual labor and others who are affected by such income loss. I emphasize particularly immediately measures such as direct cash transfer is the need of the hour. And that too, that is the poor people, for the poor people only. I thank the organizers for having given us the wonderful opportunity. Although my lengthy presentation. Thank you very much, one and all. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Prasad Rao, sir. Thank you, Andy. You have covered
you.
all the aspects, that is all over Indian economy, as well as agriculture sector, as well as tiny business, as well as migrant laborers. You have covered everything. Very good, sir. All the participants, I think, were very much impressive. They were. But
Thank
my
you very
question,
much, Sharma. Very nice.
my question, sir,
Yes, yes. If any questions, most welcome.
it is a big challenge for India, no doubt about it. But how to convey all these measures suggested by government to the people, those are not aware of these programs? Mostly, there are many people in, for example, migrants. They don't know what programs, what measures given by the government of India. So, to whom they have to approach to avail the benefits? That is my question, sir.
Right, Amma, it is very, very important question. So the benefits announced by the government should reach the poor immediately,
Yeah, yes, sir.
particularly
Yes,
the migrants, tiny, and other poor people. Very, very important. This is not so easy
yes,
because where they are, it is very difficult to find out. Okay, they are on the streets at the moment. So it is the responsibility. Government should take the responsibility to to reach these measures to each and every poor of the society with the help of to creating a chain
yes,
with the help of rural villages, including in our state, particularly as there are different mechanisms. Panchayati organizations are there, and in the urban areas, the government is supposed to take all these measures to how to reach the benefits of the schemes to the poor people. That is important. How to raise there is a chain, supply chain,
yes,
that must be strengthened at the moment. So that is the weak at the moment. Then we have to strengthen that chain. The link should be strengthened so that the benefits will reach to the poor people
yes.
with the help of the different society, different organizations in the society. That's the only way to help
There is
them.
one. There is one question, sir, from the participant
Amma?
side. How come
Right.
unorganized labor come out of this situation? Unorganized labor. I think it is from the informal sector. This is a question from the informal sector labor.
Well,
How to come out of this situation?
that is very, very, very difficult situation.
Yes,
The entire migrants and the entire unorganized sector is facing lots of problems and lot of confusion in that. And for the last 2 months, they don't have any money incomes, and as a result, they're all becoming paupers overnight. And in this situation, as the government only through giving uh, cash transfers, cash transfers only can help the poor at the most in the present juncture. That's what I feel.
thank you, sir.
Sir, may I ask a question, sir? I mean, I'm looking at all what is happening, and you, with so much of experience and practical wisdom, no, sir. What does your gut feeling say, sir? How much time it'll take for the economy to bounce back? What do you, feel with? I know that beautifully you said so many measures, but what does your economist's gut feeling and mind say? How much time do you think for at least the Indian economy to kind of, not level, at least bounce back a little?
Well, it is very difficult to predict at the moment. The situation is like that.
Yeah.
How much loss we are facing entire world. It's not even two world wars put together. The loss
Yes.
is huge.
True.
Under these circumstances, if you look at the other side and how the spreading the COVID on one side, India is also started spreading COVID very quickly. And what people say is the crores of people will affected by December. That's what we predict. Under these circumstances, so when income is recovery is very, very difficult. But
Yes.
the priority is we have to safeguard the people's lives. That is very, very important.
Yes.
And we have to share. The people are supposed to share whatever they have, including the rich. The rich people are supposed to come forward.
Yes.
At least this is the need of the hour to share their their resources, their
Yes. Yes.
wealth, their wealth. It is that way we can protect at the moment the lives of the people, and
Yes.
the government also should come forward. Where are the people? The governments are telling where are the
Yes.
resources? That is
True.
unfortunate thing we are facing because
Yes.
we didn't create wealth so much. But people are on one hand we have the more than 130 crores of population, but you see the income is less than 3 trillion. Our GDP is only less than. Under these circumstances, how can we create wealth? People are supposed to involve economic activity. Economic activity is crucial for creating wealth. But unfortunately, this is not the time to create wealth. The priority before all of the world, all of the country,
Yes.
including Indians, is how to protect, how to survive from the COVID-19 crisis. That is important. And the economy aspect is later. Say for that we have to slowly think step by step, so
Yes.
that we can finally get rid of these risks. And at some point, definitely, I believe at some point, we have strong holds
Yes.
in this Indian economy. With that, we can overcome. It may take time. I'm not saying we don't have any mantras. Just we cannot create the wealth to the people, but
Yes.
it is a long process. But definitely, I I believe there's something will come out, come out
Yes.
with a proper way of finding better solutions to
Yes.
overcome these crises.
Maybe one last question. So I was just saying, Prasanna ma'am was just saying, but from Arpita Das, as you said rightly, I'm also saying like hope is at the end of the tunnel. But all the schemes announced
Definitely,
by
ma'am.
the government and are for the poor. But in the zero economic day-to-day activity, the government source of income tax is almost negligible and the reduced growth rate. So how do you think the government will manage the finance? Of course, you also answered somewhere, but how will the government manage balance it, sir?
That is absolutely perfect question, Oma. It is a $1 million question. Governments, all the government, not only Indian government, the
Yes,
whole world, including
yes,
the tiger economies in Asia,
yes,
including the big giants in the world, then the top G7 countries in the world.
Yes.
Their per capita income is 50 $50,000. Can you believe it? Our is $22,000. But
Correct.
whereas in China, so they're having them more than $13,000. Look at their incomes. So, but even at this stage also, uh,
Yes.
it is it is very difficult to, I mean, to think about the whole world in the light of COVID-19, and it is not so easiest thing to manage for the government.
Yes.
And but my hunch is they should follow the rational tax system. And as we studied in Dalton, that
Yes.
uh, to inequalities must be reduced.
Yes.
That is the important thing. So now there is a lot of change in the mindset of the government, lot of
Yes.
change in the people mindset as well.
Yes.
So, the business so far, the 500 transnationals, they dominate the entire world.
True. True.
Now that dominance is gone.
Yes.
So that in that case, India is supposed to, I mean, come forward to take the
Yes.
advantage of the economic situation.
Yes. Yes.
They said, now who is going to be the number one in the world? I say,
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
it is very difficult, very
Yes.
difficult. Under
Yes.
these circumstances, the Americans are struggling, the
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Germans, including British, said
Yes.
they're all, I mean, completely hands up now.
True,
They,
sir.
they don't, anything is in their hands now. It's
Yes.
priority is should protect the people's life.
Yes.
The
Yes.
economy, uh, people will create the economy. It's a matter of time.
Yes.
People come forward. It's a necessity is the mother of invention.
True.
Definitely, for themselves, they create wealth in the future. But at this hour, it is very difficult. So they cannot do that. But
Yes.
they need some assistance, the help,
Yes.
outside the help. So that is required.
True,
The
sir.
governments, the tax system is supposed to help majority of the people, so
True,
that
sir.
so that the, and I heard the more than 40%,
Yes.
40% of the tax should be levied on the richer sections of the society.
Yes. Very
It's
right, sir.
it is very difficult, even yeah, they can't face bear at this moment, but
Yes.
somehow we have to uh, uh, we have to uh, balance it. Then
Yes.
only the solution will come out.
Yes.
Maybe we are hopeful, and
Yes, sir.
that,
I
that
like
much
your
I can
hunch
say at the
also.
moment.
I like your economist hunch also. Thank you very much, sir. I'll hand you over to
Thank you very much, Amma. Thank you very much.
Prasanna, sir.
Thank you very much, Amma. Very kind.
Thank you very much. You have covered all the points and suggested measures also. But my last question
Yes,
is
Amma.
government only can do all these things, or we invite private sector also to bring this situation, to bring out this situation into out?
The government cannot do everything.
Only
It
government
is
can do.
people are supposed. Any government cannot do everything. You
Yes.
take it any
Yes, sir.
setup, whether it is including top um, uh, rich countries in the world. Are they doing everything to the people? No, it is very different. Some sections are left out always. Even in this society also, the question is, it is very difficult to tackle the whole situation, the government itself. People's support. only with the people support.
Yes, sir.
People support is very much required. But the poor people cannot help. And moreover, we should remember one thing. Poor people cannot wait because they are hungry.
Yes.
They lack incomes. They lack the two important things: how to generate adequate employment, how to generate small incomes to the poor people. These two things are very much essential. Keeping in mind these two important things, any government should make policies so that it can reach the people quickly and so that uh, poor people can survive. So this is the situation we are facing at the moment. The government should come forward, including private sector. I have uh, many reservations about the private sector. The private sector, what we learn in economics, they always go for profits. They are also supposed to come forward to tackle the situation, the worst kind of situation we are facing, and in the near future much more worse situation we are facing. In such a case, all sectors should come forward and put hand in hands and tackle the situation effectively. And this is the way we can control the crisis, coronavirus 19 crisis.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Very kind of you, Ma.
Thank
you
you very much for your elaborative speech on this impact of COVID-19, especially on Indian poor. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Ma. Very nice of you. Thanks a lot.
On behalf of the principal, Dr. Stashaiji, the management, and all of us in St. Joseph, sir, namaskar. Thank you very much. May the people like you always live longer, more healthier, because the country needs you, economists like you. Namaskar, sir. You may leave the session.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
We will start session 2 in just 2 minutes from now, as we need to get out of both the sessions are very wonderful sessions, but Professor Prasad Rao sir dealt with a very wonderful session on how the Indian poor is affected and COVID has affected. So now we will move to session 2, and where we have a very, very interesting person. The speaker is already there. He is waiting, and he's been listening to all that has been happening for the last 20 minutes or so. So we will have the next session 2 by Professor Devasena Naidu on, I'm sure, hold your hearts tight, because that's the topic that all of us have been debating on Facebook or WhatsApp or Twitter. What about China and India? And that's a topic that Sir is going to address. Is India a good alternative to China? I'm sure there are going to be a lot of arrows on it at the end of it, lots of questions. So I now invite Dr. K.N. Murthy, Assistant Professor from the Department of Economics, St. Joseph's College, to introduce the very esteemed resource person, Professor Devasena Naidu. Over to Dr. K.N. Murthy.
Video.
Sir, Murthy sir, video on.
Video on. cannot start your video because open video. Okay.
Sir, could you start?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Good afternoon, dear participants and esteemed resource speaker, Professor Devasena Naidu. I, K.N. Murthy, Assistant Professor of Economics in St. Joseph College for Women, Autonomous, Visakhapatnam. Moving forward, on 12th May 2020, our Prime Minister Modi ji has announced 20 lakhs crore economic package to the nation to make India as self-reliable. On this note, our next session will focus on is India as an alternative to China post-COVID-19 by Professor P. Devasena Naidu. I consider it my privilege to introduce one of the most illustrious professors in economics across the globe from SV University, Tirupati. Professor P. Devasena Naidu, sir, having completed PhD from SV University, Tirupati under the guidance of Professor B.R.K. Rao in 1985. Sir has 36 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration. An ardent researcher and writer, Sir has published 6 popular books and 48 papers in national and international journals. He was honored with many awards like the Best Kala Sevak Award by Andhra Pradesh Cultural Council in 2002 and Best Professor Award by Megastar Cultural Association in 2006. He guided 3 candidates for PhD degrees and 3 for MPhil by SV University. He has 6 research projects and extended his service activities in many countries like USA, Brazil, Singapore, Egypt, South Africa, to name a few. Sir holds many key administrative leadership positions like Head of the Department of Economics, Co-Convener of BCA, Member of Indian Economic Association and Indian Economic Labor Association. Sir, we are very much privileged to have you among us for today's webinar. Over to you, sir, for the session. Not taking much of your time, I hand over the session to sir to enlighten us. Thank you. వచ్చేలా పెట్టు.
Hello. Now I am.
Sir, the downside, the share screen option is there, sir.
This video. What color?
Green color.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, could you share the screen, sir? PPT.
Okay.
The downside, the green color symbol is there, sir. Share screen. You have to click that, sir.
Okay.
Now that one window is open, sir. Could you check your PPT? It is
Yeah.
So now it is started, sir. Screen sharing.
Okay.
Sir, could you
Good
click
afternoon to everybody. Yes.
Sir, could you double click, sir, in that PPT icon?
In PPT.
PPT icon is there, sir, in that window. The downside. Here there is no PPT. Here there is no PPT, sir. Screen sharing.
No PPT.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The first
One second. That. Mute the number.
Sir, minimize the zoom window, sir, first. Minimize the zoom window and open the desktop, sir. Minimize the zoom window, sir, first. Shortcut key Windows and D, sir. You can press Window and D. Automatically it is minimized.
Window and D.
Window automatically that is minimized, sir. Now we can open the
Min-
PPT on desktop.
PPT.
Now you can open the PPT on desktop, sir.
PPT. And the left side.
Then you can open the Zoom, sir, now.
Let the right side detail. The card. Left side. Left side. Zoom.
Now you can open Zoom window, sir.
Okay.
After you can see that share screen option is there, sir, downside of the Zoom window. Share screen, green color.
No green color here.
The downside, share screen. One window is open, sir, now. We can see that your PPT is displayed, sir, in that window. Now you can click the double click now, sir. Wait, sir, it is sharing. So now you can click the double click on that PPT, sir.
Okay.
No.
It is visible now?
Has started screen sharing, sir. Just 1 minute. Sir, now. Sir, have you seen that share screen option, sir?
Share screen option.
What's your phone number?
So why don't you try opening the PowerPoint, sir? I think it's already in full screen. Just open the PowerPoint, that's all. Sir, can you hear us?
మళ్ళీ ఎలా చేంజ్ చేసుకునేది?
Sir, it's okay, sir. No, continue, sir.
ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ స్లైడ్ పోవాలంటే ఏది నొక్కాలి? డౌన్.
Sir, can I request you to draw your curtains, sir? There's a lot of light coming on you. I can see the curtains to your left. No. The window curtains, just draw them fully. Just pull them across so that there's a lot of light on your face. No.
ఓకే,
I only want you to draw the curtains and sit in the same place, sir. No problem. That's
is
perfect.
it okay, madam?
It's very
Okay.
perfect. Please continue.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. Those who are participating in seminar, web seminar. First, I thank Dr. Shiaji, principal of Joseph College for Women. I also thank the coordinator, C.G. Prasoona, Center Professor of Economics, and moderator, K.N. Murthy, who is also Assistant Professor of Economics from Joseph College for Women. Today, I am going to discuss the topic on how India will become an alternative to China. This is a situation where we are very much interested during post-COVID period. Actually, Corona and lockdown created havoc in the globe in multiple dimensions. It stopped all the production activities, created unprecedented job losses, no transportation, no tourism activity, no trade, and no consumption activity. All governments are resorted to lockdown to reduce the infection and deaths of their citizens. Lockdown confined millions of citizens to their houses, and millions have become unemployed. In the entire globe, the situation of recession also pervading. As a result, there is a decrease in the employment opportunities. In US alone, during April, 20.5 million people, they have applied for unemployment benefit. Since March 21st, 48 million people applied for unemployment benefits only from United States of America. The number is not less in the case of India, where it is estimated 40 million labor force, they became unemployed. They include agricultural labor, migrated labor, hawkers, and taxi drivers,
Sir,
and
would
auto
you-
drivers.
Could you go to the next slide, sir? Are you doing the down arrow or some up arrow to go to the next slide, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. How to cope up with the COVID-19 crisis? Global economic growth rates decreased. Next one. Okay. Yeah, global economic growth declined or became negative in most of the countries. The impact of COVID is very much high. It is more than the global financial crisis of 2008-9. During COVID-19, the global economic growth recorded a decline or a negative of 3% in 2020. The same negative growth rate was recorded during the global financial crisis, only 1%. That means it is almost more than 3 times decrease in the growth rate in the entire world. For United States, Japan, UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, the growth rate decreased and it is actually negative from -5% to 5% to 9%. The advanced economies have hit harder than the other economies, and it is estimated the other advanced economies average negative decline growth rate is -6%. Emerging economies declined at the rate of 2.3%. China GDP dropped by 36.6% during the first quarter of 2020. South Korea managed with 5.5% decline without lockdown. South Korea managed in better when compared to other economies of the world. The GDP of France, Spain, Italy declined by 21.3%, 19.2%, and 17.5% respectively. Decline in demand for oil and natural gas. There was no commutation facilities, no roadways, no railways, no air travel, and no shipping activities. Due to lockdown, all commutations stopped. As a result, there is decrease in the demand for oil by 60%. Chinese LNG buyers halted their imports as storage tanks are in full. Decline in demand for industrial metals. China accounts for half of the global industrial metals, and lockdown stopped all industries in the United States of America and most of the European countries. Shutdown of factories reduced the demand for industrial metals. Food and beverages. IMF projected decreased demand for food and food prices by 2.6% in the first quarter of 2020. Besides, there are no hotels, no restaurants, no cafeterias, and demand for fish, meat, wool, cotton items decreased and prices too. Then, how to cope up with this critical situation of COVID-19 crisis as well as lockdown period? Most of the countries, they have made an attempt to supply a stimulus packages. World Economic Forum and the guardians of financial management, they have prepared number of schemes, number of priorities on which focus has to be made. Most of the economists and financial managers, they came to the conclusion that micro, small and medium enterprises should be focused and the investment should be made more, and also to rescue the small enterprises and for the recovery of citizens and also the economies of their respective governments. They wanted to have a stimulus packages. India announced a stimulus package of 10% of its GDP, the highest being 21.1% GDP was allocated by Japan, followed by United States of America with 13% of GDP, and Germany package accounted to 10.7%, France 9.3%, Spain 7.3%, and Italy about 5.7%. In Asia, India, China, Indonesia, Japan, Singapore, and South Korea account for 85% of COVID-19 cases. The major amount is allocated as a result for the health development of the citizens and also for the improvement of sanitary conditions by all the governments. So actually, the priority is to control virus on one side and mitigate the economic damages to the people, companies, as well as for their economies. The recovery in trade is expected only in 2021, and it is expected to start within a month or two in 2020, but much depends upon the duration of the crisis and also the effectiveness of the policies that are adopted by different economies. The COVID-19 brought new work culture, change in the lifestyle, change in thinking, change in strategies and planning, change in production priorities and consumption, change in the individual behavior and also the dependency on different economies. More fiscal support was needed to inculcate consumption of households as well as small businesses to prevent the liquidity crisis in the country, in almost all the countries. As a result, when there is change in all these activities, it is proving that the proverb change is permanent and constant. India, as an alternative to change, the next one. Most of the countries are having negative feelings and anti-feelings about China because it is the manifestation ground for COVID-19. As a result, most of the economies in the world, they are having the enmity against China. The top one among these is United States of America. United States of America openly challenging China and wants to support India and wants to make it as an alternative to China. World trade is expected to fall between 13% to 32% in 2020 by, as per the estimations of World Trade Organization. They have analyzed the entire data in two different ways. One is optimistic approach, and the second one is pessimistic approach. The rapid, vigorous rebound program is possible differently this time. During 2008 and 9, global financial crisis was managed by all the countries as a single unit through monetary and fiscal policies, and also through temporary income support to businesses and households. But under COVID-19, the situation is altogether different. There are so many restrictions. The labor cannot move freely, and transportation cannot take place on its own. No travels and restrictions were imposed, and social distancing is another hurdle. As a result, national economies being shut down. The fiscal and monetary policies which were followed by all the economies during 2008-9 global financial crisis may not be suitable, may not be readily applicable, because there are so many conditions here. There was no conditions in the previous economic crisis, but this is a peculiar case. Once after China revealed the coronavirus case on December 27th and brought it to the notice of the World Health Organization on 31st December, the entire thinking has been changed. As a result, the entire world is believing that China is responsible for COVID virus. So they wanted to isolate. Now, all the countries which had investments in China involving in imports and exports wanted to come out of China or wanted to have one more unit outside China. More multinational corporations are looking at Vietnam and Thailand for a variety of reasons. But India should grab this opportunity with both hands. Favorable points for India to become an alternative. United States of America mainly
I think Sir's system is experiencing some hanging. We will see. Like as Sir was saying, that really as India, as China's next door neighbor, it really senses an opportunity and is keen to make inroads to a space where we are hoping China will vacate sooner or after. Sir's come back. Sir's come back. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Yes, you are unmuted, sir. Please continue, sir. Yes.
And educated labor force. And most of the developed countries, if they want to, whether it is European countries or US, if they want to shift their units to their respective countries, they have cost of production is more. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can I proceed?
Yes, yes, sir. Please proceed. Your PPT
Yes,
is
yes.
open. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay, nice. We have comparatively cheaper labor. If United States of America and the European countries, they wanted to shift units to their respective countries, labor cost will be more. But in case of India, we are lucky to have more skilled labor at lesser wages. And we have 1.3 billion population, and which is a positive point for increase in the business activities and for the expansion of demand for commodity goods and services. And also it is a combination of youth population with high middle class category, which have more purchasing power than the previous decades. Most of the FDIs, they prefer and they look for the World Bank report on ease of doing business. Based on the rankings, they wanted to select in which country ease of doing business is relatively better. But India, with all its effort, still it could not reach below the rank of 50 in the total 200 countries or 210 countries in the world. Europe also should give a weightage to India, like United States of America. And the another advantage of India is, since the times immemorial, India was very popular in the silk production and export. And later China entered, and these two big economies, they were sharing the world trade in terms of silk production. Now it has to give more emphasis for silk production, and the former transport minister of France, he proposed that the peace pipeline should be established between Iran, Pakistan and India in order to have more trade and in order to attract more FDIs to India. Then, what are the weaknesses of Indian economy? Weaknesses of Indian economy are many, because India made recently Make in India slogan, and which is not a successful one. Land availability and allocation is a very big problem in India. There is a cumbersome bureaucratic procedures, and the political opposition looking to fish in the troubled waters in India. In all the states, the opposition party will be against the ruling government. Different procedures are adopted by different economies, different states all over the country. There is no uniformity. And the labor problems. Labor problems are many. They are actually in favor of labor welfare when compared to the advantage to the entrepreneurs. So most of the FDIs, they are proposing to change labor laws, but there is a need to change labor laws. It does not mean that that is for labor exploitation. Another factor is red tapeism. Red tapeism, bureaucratic overreach is there. State governments, they are following different procedures. In some of the cases, one of the examples was quoted, the entrepreneur, he went on meeting 23 different offices for the approval. And it takes minimum 6 months to 1 year to get approvals from all the departments, from all the government departments. This is a serious handicap which is proposed by most of the foreign direct investors. And also infrastructure. Infrastructure wise, India made a lot of inroads, particularly after 1991 globalization. With all this, still the infrastructural facilities are considered as inadequate to meet the total demand. As a result, backward the advanced economies like China, United States, Japan and Germany, they have better infrastructural facilities. And also marine transport is one of the important aspects which India has to show. India should strengthen, because the Asian tigers, Hong Kong, Singapore, they have attained high percentage of growth rates because they are very strong in port and shipping activity. India should attract foreign capital to make investment in the domestic industry as well as in the agricultural sector. But India practiced until 1991 foreign investment. India felt that may be a negative point for India, and they used to borrow and they used to pay interest, and now India is paying more than 35% of their GDP for repaying interest. Now, Indian economists and thinkers, they have changed their strategy, and they wanted to have that India should attract foreign direct investment. When people are coming with money, they are coming with opportunities, they are providing employment opportunities, there will be increase in the production, they need not pay interest, and as a result, it is a favorable point when compared to the previous strategy. India is becoming an alternative to China by following different methods, and it is changing its policies and programs, and it is taking large number of initiatives to set right the whole infrastructural facilities in the country. And it wants to make a uniform policies in the different states. Now, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka governments, they have prepared, already submitted their proposals to invite multinational companies. Large number of multinational companies, they are expecting reforms in the Indian commercial activities, and they wanted to have particularly tax reforms. And India is a big market when compared to Vietnam, Cambodia and other countries, and they wanted to have that labor laws and tax policies and supply of land, water with sewage facilities, and the government should ensure retrospective tax amendments. These are some of the demands put forth by foreign direct investors. India, when compared to China, is not having large number of supply chains. Since China has large number of supply chains, it is an economical one, and there will be a link between different departments and also section of the economy. But now the foreign investors, they are feeling there is no point in keeping all the eggs in one basket. As a result, they wanted to shift away from the China also. And India wants to approve the process within a stipulated period of time, and it is changing, and it is bringing some reforms. And it is noticed 18 out of 23 Indian startup companies, they have liquidity problem during this COVID period. As a result, government is taking care of solving those problems also. Next comes, will foreign firms looking to exit China relocate in India? They may exit from China, but there are different countries which are having some sort of advantages. As a result, countries like Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, and these countries, Vietnam, they are preferred by some of the countries because of the problems that are, as we have discussed, number of issues that in India in terms of infrastructure, rules and regulations, labor problems, etc., and the tax problems. So multinational companies facing a number of problems, but still it is assumed 1,000 firms, they are in touch with the Indian government. At least 300 of them are seriously now under discussions to have investment in India, mainly related to smartphones, electronics, medical devices, textiles, synthetic fiber, etc. Here we have comparative advantage, and they wanted to make use of this facility by making investment. India introduced various schemes, including 3 electronic manufacturing inputs with an investment of 6 billion to attract foreign direct investments and to have a manufacturing production hub in India. USA and Europe investors are looking for destinations with lower operation costs, local supply chain, fast tracking of manufacturing. As a result, most of them, they are favored special economic zones which have most of these supply chain linkages. And the anger towards China, India has to encash it. There is a disenchantment with the China model after COVID-19, deglobalization, delocalization, multilateral engagements are going to take a different shape. Now, of the prominent economies, Prime Minister Modi is championing self-reliance, and France President is championing for independence of agriculture and economical activities. And Australian Prime Minister is championing economic sovereignty, and they are stressing all these problems, and these ideologies, they are against Chinese ideology, where they believe in concentration of power both politically and economically. The mantra of sovereignty and self-sufficiency is finding a wonderful place in the world over. There is no denying factor. It is greater than multilateralism in tackling the problems. Climate change and security issues are to be collectively focused and solved the issues. Pandemic exposed China's proactive suppression. China knows the problem in advance, but they have kept it in cold storage, and most of the countries were affected because of China. They are preparing lawsuits against China. Countries like Germany, Australia, United Kingdoms, and United States for compensation from China. By that logic, China is illiberalism. They are against liberal activities, and they are tight state control over information flow. As a result, they have to come out now during the post-coronavirus period, and they have to, it costed millions of lives globally. This model brought bad name to Chinese image outside the world. So by 2040, it is Mumbai consensus is going to be widely prevalent in the entire world, which is called people-centric economic activity. Washington consensus, Beijing consensus, they are going to disappear. The people-centric economic activity has a number of advantages because it is inclusive of pluralistic democracy. A democratic-driven and service-dominated economy, and it prefers decentralization, grassroots development, and empowerment. And also it prefers private entrepreneurs. But basically, China is against private enterprise, and it is also expansionistic economic and political philosophy is there. That is why most of the countries, they are disliking China now. China, Corona brought large number of sufferings, and there are two philosophies now. One is levelers. The second one is Leviathans. Levelers means state that practices which give importance to liberty and individual rights. This is practiced and championed by India. Leviathans, it is practiced by China, which is state-run economies with limited freedom to the people. This is another important point in favor of India. As Macron said earlier this month, sovereignty is important. So he is promoting multilateralism. In key areas like health, education, and climate, we must have a combined effort. But China believes everything in isolation. As a result, India is preferred, and India has one advantage which is called digital superiority. Most of the countries in the world, except 15 to 20 countries, they are not good in digital and infrastructure. As a result, they are not thinking their economic problems, and they are not finding solutions because they have no adequate data. And even if adequate data is there, it cannot be processed without digital technology. As a result, those countries which are suffering digital, they will be killing their economies, and they were not serious. Even a decade back, most of these, about 20 countries, they have started their activities vigorously. But other countries, they felt digitalization may decrease the employment opportunities, and they may face so many problems. Now, they have woken up like a Rip Van Winkle, and they feel that everything is past and everything is in advanced stage. As a result, they are not in a position to cope up with the developments. So India luckily has number of talented people, and they are heading number of digital units in the country, in the world. As a result, post-pandemic paralysis of local economy, facing restless citizens in digital starved information economies. So digitalization of public and private bureaucracies of the world become critical necessary today, almost free many years ago, but fear of risk management, job loss silenced them. Now, nations without digitalization will remain crumbled economies. They don't survive, and there is no future for them. Any business model, irrespective of size, type, location, should have solid digital foundation to bounce back at a global stage. The monthly and quarterly table related to statistics, I'm going to open the next. Yeah. Next. Right forward. Next. రెండు ఉన్నాయి కదా దానిలో రెండు. నెక్స్ట్ వెళ్ళండి, దీనికి వెళ్ళండి. Yes, here is the table which shows non-financial investment or the multinational companies, 20 different multinational companies which are having offices in more than 10 countries in the world. These are the biggest units which are to be invited, and as far as many advanced economies are concerned, they are entering into the recession. During this COVID period, here each block, it is referring to one quarter. Whether it is Canada, in the case of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdoms, and also United States, they have negative growth rates in their GDP. China could survive the onslaught still because It is the biggest economy in the world, with 50% of the manufacturing goods are produced and exported to the other countries. With this background, but now its demand also decreased by 36.6%. This is China called car sales. This table shows after COVID, the first January, February, March, and April, what is the decline of the demand for cars in China economy? It touched more than 82%. In the case of March, there was decline in the demand for cars by 82%. Now, in April, it is 48.4%. As a result, most of the industrial units, they stopped production in China also, and they are not in a position to export their commodities like in the previous situation. This is the industrial production of China, which is showing downgrade during January, February, and March. During the previous to COVID-19, you see the growth rates of industrial production. It is roughly between 6 and 7%. As a result, though it is the biggest economies, exporting economies in the world, it is facing a lot of problems. As a result, India has to encash this situation for its best of its utility. Now, finally, I wanted to make a comparison only between three economies, world topmost economies. First is United States of America. It is the world number one from 1871 year till today. This is the world biggest economy, and its total income, the GDP, is estimated at 21.44 trillion in 2019, and of course there is projection to 2020 also, which is now irrelevant for all the countries. Out of top 10 countries in the world, put together, they are producing 66% of total GDP. The remaining only 34% is shared by about 190 to 200 countries. And the United States alone, it accounted for 1/4 of the total world GDP in 2018, and now it decreased to 1/5 in 2019 and 2020. This is mainly because not due to decrease in the production in the United States of America, but most of the emerging economies, they are growing faster than the other economies in the world. As a result, the share of emerging economies are increasing, and it appears there is a decline in the share of GDP of United States of America. So this is with $50,292 average income, one of the biggest economies in the world. Next one is China. China is, in the nominal terms, GDP, it is having $14.14 trillion in 2019. But purchasing power parity theory concept, it is estimated 27.31 trillion. As a result, it is, if we take into consideration of purchasing power parity theory, number one economy in the world, and China and the United States become number two. But in nominal terms, there is more than 7.5 million times, 5 trillion times, trillion difference is there. The per capita income of China is $10,100, whereas it is 5 times exactly in terms of United States of America when compared to China. And China is also blessed with of the world top 5 banks. Of the 5, 4 banks are in China. They are the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Second one is China Construction Bank. Third one, Agricultural Bank of China. And fifth one, Bank of China. These are all, they are from China. Only JP Morgan Chase is from United States of America, which is the 4th big.
I think there is a slight hanging of the system where Sir Devachan Naidu sir is there. We'll just wait, it will come back. But a lot of thinking, all the participants who are still online can think, right? These were the issues which were discussed even on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp. Yes, sir is back.
Concluding the session. India is 5th largest economy in the world in nominal terms and 3rd largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity theory. The per capita income is only $2,170. It is China's is almost 5 times more. When compared to China, US per capita is 5 times more. So we are far below the in terms of per capita income in the world, and our ranking in terms of per capita income is 63 now when compared to last year, to 2018, it is 77. India was 13th in the rank during 1980. During that period, what is our total GDP today? China's GDP was exactly the same during 1980. Service sector is dominating in India with 60% of income and 28% of employment, and manufacturing sector is contributing 23% of income, and the remaining 17% is contributed by agricultural sector. Economy strength, Indian economy has certain advantages. It has limited exports, high saving rate, favorable young generation or demography, rising middle income group or category of people. As a result, after all said and done, we have to understand that India has to go a long way in order to compete China. The reason being, what is our income today? GDP was 40 years back to India, to China. As a result, we are about 40 years backward to China in terms of total gross domestic product is concerned. As a result, we have to make the investment opportunities in two different ways. One, there is a bad name, negative feeling about China, which has to be uncashed. On the other, we have to make investment. We have to increase investment by inviting foreign direct investment, by changing our strategy. Our domestic investment is no longer sufficient in order to increase the employment opportunities, increase in production, increase in trade with other countries. India has opportunity. It has to overcome the political and private corruption activities. This is one of the serious lacunae and backwardness and problems which are hindering the growth of economy in India. The second one is, India should make a considerable amount of investment for marine development and ship transportation. Otherwise, the international trade cannot be cheaper and India cannot stand competition with the other countries in exporting its exports. India should have liberal economic policies in order to invite, in order to attract, and also simplify the procedures in order to attract foreign direct investment. If we could make this and our GDP increases at the rate of 10%, then in 15 years, we may reach the present per capita income of China. By the time, it may have further improvement. Anyhow, now we have a positive look, a advantage, a big brotherly attitude with our culture, with our skills and other practices. We have to raise as an alternative to China, and we have to compete and we have to progress more with a combined effort of state governments and central government with the cooperation of international strategies and their cooperation. With this, I thank one and all for their patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that very statistically backed, power-packed presentation. I don't think the audience, the participants, if they were properly listening, every word of yours was properly backed by figures and statistics. That of course shows you're a wonderful, not just a teacher of economics, a wonderful economist yourself. And we at St. Joseph's are very happy. As of now, I'm not seeing many questions. Probably they'll just start coming. But my question, when I heard, when you said we have a long way, we are 40 years behind GDP, I said, my God, should we be more pessimistic? Should we? But you said at the end, we are optimistic, we are hopeful. So, as you said, sir, our Make in India slogan last time and our whole thing was not a success. But now the same thing, be vocal for local. Do you think it'll work in the present mood?
Thank you, madam. Now, post-COVID period is different. Now, they want to have a new investment opportunity.
Yes.
They wanted to come out of China. They wanted to have limited links with China. And with all negative points and backwardness, India is the only other big brother in the world. Like China, it is the only alternative big brother in the world.
Yes.
And also, we have an edge of digital background, and we are very strong. This is what we have to capitalize in order to reach fast China and or America or other economies faster than we are expecting. We have basic input, and there is aversion towards China.
Yes.
And that we have to make in two ways. We have to make use of this advantage, and we have to grow. And as I said, we have a big brotherly image in the world. Our yoga is practiced. Our lifestyle is practiced. Our Sanskrit slokas are being practiced. They wanted to find out meanings, and they are using scientifically for scientific achievements also. As a result, we have invented zero, and we are very good in mathematics, and we have a considerable amount of what you call history, which is scientific, that we have to make use of for our progress now.
So one question, Sravya Dadi is asking, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, urged people to use locally produced companies, which I asked just now. But she's saying, do you think we have an opportunity to overtake China if we don't have a give and take relationship with other countries? She's
Yes,
saying,
basically, unless we produce, we cannot export.
True.
China is exporting because it is producing.
Yes.
It is producing where the labor returns are more.
True.
But the same condition may not be applicable in the case of India, because India is too much democratic.
True.
Everybody wants to make use of the loopholes.
Yes.
They want rights, but they are not willing to contribute their might. After all, I'm sorry, it is a naked reality. What is the labor productivity of India? What is the labor productivity of China? It can't be made comparison under any circumstances. The second point is, in the case of Modi, he brought the slogan, Make in India concept, but he himself, because of globalization, because of demonetization, because of the introduction of GST with different combinations, that itself, it killed the investment appetite of people in the country. So the investment appetite of the country was destroyed by these two measures. Demonetization made money not to be in the banks. They are keeping it in their houses, and they made it a new black money.
Yes.
Modi thought he is bringing black money out, and the total estimation was 13% of black money. But finally, we came to know when there is exchange, we brought 26% of black money, we noticed, and this money was pumped into the economy, and it is not used for the production purposes, and it is in their godowns. Banks are there without money. People are interested to make investment because they have to pay the income tax.
You're right.
As a result, he proposed the idea, and because of Modi policy, again, everything was became negative because of the demonetization. Though, in principle, it appears to be a good one, but it resulted and it landed the economy into great trouble. That itself, I can say, I can challenge. Yes, World even Trade Organization also revealed because of these twin problems of GST and demonetization, the investments were stopped in India. That is why, whether it is micro enterprises, small enterprises, or medium enterprises, they could not come out. You leave the big investments. The big investments, we are giving bailouts and lakhs of crores of rupees we are losing because of the bailouts in the case of large-scale industries.
Thank you, sir. There's another question. Just enough time for just 3 questions, sir. Dr. Arangi, yes, sir. Dr. Arangi Venu is asking, sir, will India become an investment destination for global economies post-pandemic? You almost half answered that question there. But is India becoming an investment destination for especially probably big turnkey projects and, from a very big perspective?
Yes. India has, with all, as I told you, negative points and backwardness, we have a positive point that we have a good image at international level because we were never conquered anybody, and it is not the expansion policy. And also, there is China and India, even there is a comparison, there is direct opposition between these two things, two countries. One is democratic country, the another one is centralistic and socialistic country, which don't allow. It wants to keep everything confidential, including COVID-19 virus. But in the case of India, it wanted to share everything with other countries. That is why, though it is an unimportant when compared to G7 economies, all the G7 economies, it starts per capita income, Italy from 37,000 per capita to United States 50,300 $272 economies, all the countries. Why they are inviting a country which is having per capita income of 2,170? That itself, that is the importance that is given by the world economies to India. They wanted to travel with India, and they have a quadrilateral economies. America, Japan, Australia, and India, they are quadrilateral economies. In between, the China is there. They wanted to cover on the outer layer of China, and they wanted to fix it, and they wanted to control it. They wanted to control the expansion activity, both politically and economically. If they are in favor of India, and India, if it could correct its limitations in terms of labor laws, land laws, and other things, there is a possibility, because they have other countries, they have confidence in India. India on its own, it cannot progress. When other countries are looking at India, there is an opportunity to progress in a big way.
Yes, very true, sir. Thank you, sir. There's just one question.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
You gave a very good talk. but my question is here.
Please.
Just now mentioned that there is a difference between China and India. What kind of difference means? There is a difference in the political system itself. China can adopt coercive methods to achieve any kind of result. But what about India? Okay, Prime Minister announced so many schemes, programs, concessions and all. But are we able to avail those kind of schemes properly to come out of this COVID situation? Please explain, sir.
Yes. Our basic structure is entirely opposite between China and India. India is not liberal, it is too liberal democracy. And that is why we have some political corruption and also private corruptions also in a large scale. This may not be there in the case of China. But when foreign direct investment comes from all the global economies, we have an obligation to raise to the occasion. We have to change our policies and programs. As a result of the domination and more amount of investment, and with the interaction, there will be change in our temperament and attitude and behavior.
Yes.
As a result, India can mold itself morally, ethically, and also during the work culture and other things, they will learn more from the foreign direct investments if they are more dominant in number. As a result, their impact also will be there on the local people. And also everybody now, they have different set of mind now. Each person now, they are not feeling that too ambitious when compared to pre-COVID period. Now, post-COVID period, everybody is philosophical in their outlook, in their thinking, in their attitude, in their behavior. We used to run daily, running, unless there is, we are not running fast and we cannot achieve our daily livelihood. But now everybody is unemployed, nobody is employed, and nobody is taking employment serious. Everybody wants to be in the house. With all this, there is a change in the attitude. There is change in the thinking. Now they are more dedicated and they wanted to how to overcome the economic problems, how to improve ourselves, and how to grab the opportunity that is extended by other countries. And when China is becoming enemy to more number of countries, India is becoming more friendly to more number of countries. This is the opportunity. There is change in the thinking style, habits, work culture. As a result, though we cannot precisely say how much time it takes, given the opportunity, when compared to previous situation, there is a possibility we may become some economically more advanced position when compared to the previous situation. In the previous situation, nobody was thinking that India as an alternative. Now, most of the countries thinking India as an alternative. That itself is our investment.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Very. I don't know, the way you defended all these questions, sir, beautiful analysis, sir. I think sometime we should meet you personally, and it's very wonderful to listen to the first time. There is one question, sir, Dr. Maniki Kumar is asking, which even I was thinking, why is India not avoiding Chinese products and boosting? And embedded in the question, because China and MNCs are grabbing, more consumers in India. What do you feel, sir, as an economist hunch? Do you think we in India can give up Chinese products? See, I am not going into political thing like you are an authority, you will, but I don't want, but I am saying as an average Indian consumer, can we give up our Indian noodles, so many of the Chinese products, which we are quite addicted?
Thank you, madam. Within 2 years, imports from China will decrease, particularly noodles, phones, by more than 50 to 60%, madam. You take it for granted. Now, nobody is preferring China noodles and nobody is interested now China phones. Now, India is producing more than 20% of world cell phones now. And it will go in a big way. Large number of companies, they are coming because we made already specialization in the production of medicines, in the production of cell phones as a result. And also now each and every person in India, they have a anti-feeling of China. As a result, this have come as a blow. If it is normally said, nobody will listen. But due to the experience of lockdown, post COVID period, they have undergone sufferings. They have undergone inconveniences, problems. With all this, now they have anti-China feeling. You take, for example, you cannot stop anybody from moving in the roads. But you see, COVID fear made all of them to sit in the house, including this web seminar, is a result of COVID-19.
Yes. True.
As a result, that everybody then, we are not willing to go outside. So we are also not willing to purchase China products, China noodles. Here afterwards, you will see 50 to 60% within 2 years there will be decrease. As a result, to that extent, there will be increase in the domestic market and there will be decrease in the foreign market.
I'm so happy, sir.
This is my perception, ma'am. This is my perception.
So happy because I had a big argument on Facebook with some of my younger friends. Don't be so over ambitious, Ramli ma'am. They told me. One last question, sir, from Mrs. Prasanna, and we will.
Madam, with all our compulsions, nobody can stop us moving in the streets. Now, what happened? Nobody is interested to move in the streets now.
No, maybe.
You see the mindset now.
Maybe people like us, but the others are all moving. I'm also saying that.
And also, madam, another important example.
Yes, sir.
When India said 2 children concept,
Yes.
within 3-4 years, everybody was tuned, and without any coercion, without any compulsion, automatically everybody felt no, not more than 2. It is a national best. National economy will have its repercussions.
Yes.
Sir, one more question. That is my personal question.
Sir's system has hung. But Sir Devasena Naidu, sir, took the questions very well, and probably almost all the questions are answered except for one. But we will just give half a minute, and if Sir doesn't come back, we will go for the vote of thanks by Dr. K.N. Murthy. We'll just give him half a minute because he took all the questions very well. And it was supported by facts and statistics. So it was a reality check. It was not, Sir was not speaking from the air or, okay, I'm sure India will take over China. He said 2 years, and very, very clearly he said that. So We are very, very happy. Sir has come back. That question you were midway through, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, can you hear us?
Size of their family.
Yes,
They
yes.
have also adopted Indian procedure and methodology in the family planning cases.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I have one more question. That's my personal question. You have visited almost all developing countries like Ethiopia, Brazil, Singapore, like that. So many countries you have visited on academic basis. Would you make out any difference between India and those countries?
Where exactly I will link the Indian condition also, ma'am. Hello.
Yes.
In Ethiopia, Ethiopia is one of the poorest countries in the world, and also they say thorn of the world. There are 5 countries which are thorn, which are negative, which are the lowest income, of which Ethiopia is one, Eritrea is one, Somalia is one, and Sudan and South Sudan. They are all called thorns in the feather.
Yes.
Okay, but when we have UNO in Switzerland, they have African headquarters. The number of discussions went on. There are 55 countries in Africa, African Union, madam. In Africa, there are 55 countries. Of the 55 countries, South Africa is the richest one. And Egypt is the oldest one with so many records, with a long history. And there are other countries, Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya, which are having some. Kenya is having a wonderful animal, what is called tourist spot. Even a Britain princess, they stayed in Kenya in the forest area. So Uganda is very good agriculturally. There are so many countries which are competing for the headquarters of African Union. But Ethiopian people, they are very friendly. They like, yeah, how are you? They are like a big brother in entire Africa. Everybody voted Ethiopia to be the headquarters of African Union. Similarly, India has having that advantage now. India has that projection now. On its own, India is getting invitations from other countries. India is focused by other countries, and they are inviting, and they are focusing. And this is what I noticed after seeing Ethiopia, how it became an important place. In Egypt, it is a wonderful thing that the Cairo is built on Nile River. It takes origin from Ethiopia. 80% of the water comes from Ethiopia, which is called Blue Nile. There is one tank in Ethiopia, that is the starting point of Bahirdar. Bahirdar Lake is there. Bahirdar Lake is the starting point of Nile River, which runs into 6,900 kilometers. It touches 12 countries. And all the countries, they competed for, this is a very, very backward economies. It is last in the list, Ethiopia, but it is considered and priority was given. Now their capital, Addis Ababa, means a little flower. That is, it looks like European city. European city.
Yes.
Now we can say there are two countries in Ethiopia. One is Addis Ababa separately, a European country. The other parts of the country is very, very backwards. So these are the expositions. When we go, we notice what are the plus points and what are the negative points. When we see directly, we will have imprint in our mind. And we learn so many things. First they ask in Ethiopia, how do you like Ethiopia? They ask. If we say it's fine, their ends matter. They will flat in front of you. They will surrender everything.
So good, sir. So good. But
Really, they are very, very friendly, very friendly. And they are patriots to the core. We have to say Ethiopia is fine. Their ends matter. They become slaves.
oh, nice. Thank you very much.
They adore you like anything.
You must have had many fans, but it is so good. And I think we really enjoyed thoroughly. I can see lot of appreciation, sir, for you. Wonderful session, brilliant session. They're all saying, sir, Raju sir, it has been wonderful. We were happy from St. Joseph's that we invited you, and we really like to extend our lot of appreciation. Namaskar, sir, on behalf of St.
Thank
Joseph's
you.
College.
I thank one and all for your efforts and initiation. I thank one and all, madam. Please.
Session, I can conclude that COVID-19 is a blessing to India. Is it, sir?
Yes. Every problem will have a solution. This is our solution in the form of COVID-19. That is how we have to receive this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the last part of today's webinar. Sir can still be there. You may be there in these things, so no problem. I now invite once again Dr. K.N. Murthy, Assistant Professor from the Department of Economics in Joseph's College, to propose the formal vote of thanks. Dr. K.N. Murthy.
Good evening once again. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to thank our esteemed resource speaker, Professor M. Prasad Rao sir, for gracing today's webinar. Thank you, sir, for a very good session. I would also like to thank our distinguished speaker, Professor P. Devasena Naidu sir, for an excellent presentation and making this webinar interesting and meaningful. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our principal, Dr. Sister Saiji PD, for her continued support for this webinar. I would also like to thank our organizing committee members, Sister Hema, Vice Principal, Sister Casey Mary, Secretary, Professor P. Sharda Ma'am, Coordinator IQAC, Ms. D.A. Ramani Ma'am, Member of IQAC and Head of the Department of Office Management, Mr. V. Naga Srinivas Sir, Assistant Professor in Computer Science, Dr. V. Gauri Shankar Sir, Assistant Professor in Mathematics, C. Chandani and R. Swarna Madam for their moral support and guidance. I am happy to express our thanks to our staff members who made this webinar a grand success. Finally, the wonderful faculty and the students who have turned up in such a great numbers, not only from our department, but also from other departments of the college. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you.
Please stand by for the national anthem at the end of the webinar. that was the end of the national webinar in economics, the impact of COVID on the Indian economy. Let's meet again for another webinar. Shabha khair, good night, have a nice rest of the evening. Good day.